In a world where the podcast multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little, two dudes must become something greater than themselves, something elemental, something terrifying. A podcast. With great podcasting, there must also be great responsibility. To show the multiverse that it's full of people ready to believe in good. The multiverse will hunt us. They will send the dogs on us, because that's what needs to happen. But it won't be ready to hear from us. Not us, united. What an intro. We're here. We're doing it. We're recording live. You can eat your cookie. It's okay. No one's going to know, except now that I said it.
Except now that we're all eating cookies.
It's okay. Cookies aren't really crunchy, so it'll just make your voice sound better anyway. Yours probably. But
my voice better? Or just...
Yeah, I mean, his doesn't have any more room for improvement. Yours, maybe a little. It could use a little buttery
Nick.
cookie.
Okay. So we start disunited.
We start disunited.
But the best part about Not Us United is that we always come back together.
That is correct. Wow, what a transition. Yeah, go ahead and take it away.
We always got each other's sixes. We always got each other's nines and threes. And sometimes the 12s.
The whole clock.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all the numbers I know in the clock. That's those far.
I have no idea where you're going with this. I'm like waiting for you to do.
Well, all I'm saying, guys, gentlemen, I wanted you to welcome to this podcast.
Thank you.
I also want to say that you are now on the highway to the podcast zone.
Oh, very nice.
And I think today is going to be a special episode.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Awesome. With us this week is a friend of ours, Brandon. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you. Glad you're here. We were originally going to do an episode on Moon Knight, and then Brandon was like, yo, saw Maverick. What are your thoughts on calling an audible? And I was like, let me go watch it. And I was like, yep, that makes perfect sense. We'll definitely give you our thoughts on Moon Knight at some point.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was fine.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was good.
Let's talk about Maverick.
I liked it. We did it.
We did, yes. We obviously need to share that this is a sequel for any of those youngsters out there that don't know what Top Gun was.
Yeah.
It was this classic film about airships.
Airships.
Do you
You're
like
on
how
it. You're on it. You're there.
Okay. You're ruining everything. I'm sorry. I can't see your face because we're all wearing sunglasses right now.
This was your idea.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, this is the sequel to when did Top Gun come out?
Sometime in the 80s. Late 80s.
Late 80s.
Mid-80s.
Tom Cruise, heartthrob, still is.
Yep.
Somehow doesn't look like he's aged at all.
Yep.
Made a sequel like 30 years later.
Yeah.
And now we're here, almost 40 years later.
Yeah.
So,
if anyone can do it, it's Tom Cruise.
Yeah. All right. Well, gentlemen, what we always do is we talk a little bit spoiler free, but let's also jump in. What was our first introduction to Top Gun? Do we have like these really cool macho stories about Top Gun, or did we just go see it one day? Let's, Brandon, what was your introduction to Top Gun?
My introduction was that Top Gun is on my dad's must-see movie list. So I was introduced to the original as a child and saw it multiple times growing up and loved it. Fantastic movie. Although I hadn't seen it for a very long time until this one came out.
Okay, and then you revisited it. So you could
did. I watched it
brush up.
last Friday, and then I saw Maverick the following day. So
I remember you texted me that. You're like, I'm really glad I watched it again.
I was. It was good. Yeah.
Just freshen it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, Michael, you have a more interesting story about Top Gun.
Oh, I don't know. My story is no story.
That is correct. Why is that?
It's just always the one to say in the terms of Top Gun that flew under my radar.
Flew under your radar. Okay.
I mean, I knew of Top Gun, and obviously I had friends who loved Top Gun, and they're like, whoa, you haven't seen Top Gun? And I'm like, nope. But I knew I think I knew cultural zeitgeist of it, of like, oh, Tom Cruise is in a plane, and he's fighting the bad guys, and then he's Top Gun, but also there's a scene on a beach, and they play volleyball.
Yes.
And
you
that's like, I pretty much
yeah.
knew it. So I still have not seen Top Gun, original Top Gun.
This is going to be interesting.
But I think, it'd be interesting to go into it with knowing what I just knew, what I just said about, like, Tom Cruise flies in a plane, and that's all I knew. And so going into the sequel, I knew extremely little about the Top Gun-averse.
Interesting.
Fair
enough.
So
Are you going to watch the original now?
At some point, yeah.
Okay. You got to.
No.
It's on some streaming platform.
I think it was on Netflix somewhere.
Okay.
Or like HBO or something. It's on something.
You gotta check it out. Nice. Okay. So weird. Usually most of my movies are brought to me by my dad. My dad and I just have a really interesting relationship where movies were like our big thing, and like he's one who introduced me to all the Marvel stuff. But in this regard, my stepdad was actually had like his pilot's license and like always talked about this movie and whatnot. He even has a call sign from NASA. He has like a NASA bomber jacket. He even sent me a picture today.
That's sick.
And his call sign is The Man.
Wow. How cool do you got to be that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the only cooler name maybe is Maverick. Like that's it. Like he did it. He peaked. Cool. He sent me a picture. He obviously looks a lot like Josh Brolin, so it's just like there's a lot of meta-ness to it where I'm just like, this guy's insane.
This guy's a goat.
Anyway, so this was always one that we had to chat about and was always kind of around because I don't know. There's just like this was like I'm trying to think of what to compare it to, but there is just some sort of camaraderie, brotherhood following to this film where it's like I don't even know if anything like plot happens that's so profound. It's just dudes high-fiving. Like that's how you describe that film. It's just like it just makes you want to high five and hug the bro next to you.
Yeah, maybe
that's all.
A chest bump.
Yeah, maybe a chest bump.
Yeah,
but that's pretty much just at its root. But for some reason, it just has this huge following of like, but it's still great, you know. And so it never actually hit me like that. I always like respected it because I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. So I was like, I'm not gonna like ignore that it exists. But it was never like it never did it for me.
Got it.
However, with that said, I went to Top Gun Maverick because like I have to see it. Also, Tom Cruise has kind of shifted his career from like heartthrob, maybe also doing like romantic comedies, maybe even like some deeper character performances to just straight action over the last like 15 years. So you take all of that experience and then you throw it into this beloved movie already. It turns into quite the combo. Like we get some pretty interesting things that happen in this film. And so
interesting too. It's like in a time where like the reboot quill or whatever you want to call it, reboot, sequel, reboot,
right?
Like it's kind of overplayed and some with varying successes. And something that can be kind of tired, and you're like, I think you can go into this movie like, oh, is there enough from Top Gun to really make a sequel? I don't know. Having not seen it, I don't know. But I was pretty low on this movie going in, and I don't know. We'll see what the thoughts come out of. But
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because like I said, I think the plot of the original is like fine, but it definitely could leave you wanting like, I mean, it's pretty much just an open door of like anything could happen. And so like nothing was hindering a sequel from being made, I don't feel like. I don't know. But they definitely took their time. Yeah. Like they weren't in any hurry to make it. So
yeah. Brandon, being probably the biggest fan of the first one here, what were your thoughts going into Top Gun Maverick?
I was excited. I knew it had a lot of potential. Like Nick said, there was plenty of room for a sequel, and yeah, it was a must see for sure. The original one, I'll spoil my rating for the original one, was I'd give that a 9 out of 10. Meaning it's a must see for me. Very high. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed the first one. But like Nick said, the plot wasn't incredible. It was just a really great bro movie.
Yeah.
Like
the boys, you know?
It was, yeah. You felt like one of the boys leaving that movie. And so I also saw the second one with my dad and brother, The Boys.
Yeah.
And
AKA
so
The Boys.
Yeah. It was I was very excited going into it. So coming in at a very different place than you, Michael.
Yeah. That's interesting. I like this though, like a pretty high, pretty medium.
Yeah.
And someone who couldn't care, probably.
I just like I obviously, it's more of a connection thing for me, and so like there are movies that even if they're not like phenomenal, if it was still important to somebody in your life, you still kind of go like, it's just kind of revered. And I feel like Top Gun has lived in like the revered category forever. It's untouchable, kind of like A New Hope
In
like,
a way,
I
yeah.
mean, like, it kind of just has that where it's like, okay,
It's a classic.
regardless
Yeah.
of what actually you feel like the movie deserves, you just leave it alone. It's in a museum. It's behind
timeless in a
glass.
way,
It's just
yeah.
leave it alone, you
Mhm.
know? And that's how I feel about that movie. Is like, I don't even feel like it's worth critiquing it because it's just dope. It's just like, all right, nice. This is cool. This is
My guy.
my guy. I mean, we're wearing sunglasses. You're wearing just some sort of outfit.
I got a
that's like-
Hawaiian outfit that's basically...
he's rocking double patterns that clash. I mean,
Yeah.
he's insane.
My inspiration for my outfit today, unfortunately the audience cannot see it, but it's Miles Teller.
Yeah, I like it.
So I got aviators on. I shaved my my face. So I have a mustache and goatee
Lovely.
going on.
He's pulled it off.
Oh, thank you, sir. Maybe I'm keeping this around. I don't know.
He walked in tonight and he just goes, "Call me Cactus." That's his call sign for this evening because he hails from Arizona.
Yes, the land of cacti.
Goodness.
So
But I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
From now on, you can refer to me as Cactus. My
Oh
name's
boy, I'll try to remember that.
the name's Cactus, fellas.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I'm hailing from down south.
Don't, please.
I'll tell you what I
do
thought of
one
Top
of the
Gun
things.
Maverick.
I'll let you be called Cactus for tonight, but let's not do the Southern accent, please.
But yeah, I got as close as I could to Top Gun as I could feel, so I could get into the mood of this movie.
Very good.
And I'm feeling the mood of the movie.
Good.
Excellent.
I'm ready to talk about it.
My last
okay,
bit of going into the movie that I will say was very different than Nick is I'm not that big of a Tom Cruise fan.
Oh, interesting.
So I love Top Gun, but not that big of a Tom Cruise fan. So
Yeah.
Well,
That's interesting. I mean, and it is a movie where I would say that not necessarily Tom Cruise's performance still talking about just regular Top Gun. There's enough cast in that that's like, it's not just Tom Cruise.
Right.
Whereas Tom Cruise for the last 15 years is very much
Tom
like,
Cruise.
it's Tom Cruise and then whoever they can find to pay $5 because that's all that's left of the budget because it's all going to him. But yeah, it's an interesting... I don't know. He's like my new hope. He's just revered. He can't be judged. He's perfect, even though he's not.
Even though, yeah, there's a lot going on.
So I'm just
but
not
he's Tom
gonna.
Cruise.
I'm not gonna go there, Michael.
Okay.
We should do an episode on Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
It would be great.
I agree.
The enigma, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, that's him.
But yes, I think we are very excited. Like, we definitely just want to talk about Maverick and all the ins and outs of it. So I think we're just gonna give you guys a brief, spoiler-free review. Which is going to be really tricky because this thing is just riddled with callbacks to the old one, new things, and just all sorts of fun things. So, Michael, you're the freshest. You had no prejudice, like anything coming in. You had nothing to judge this off of.
Nope.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I got your 6, so...
Thank you. I'm sorry, Brandon. He's a different beast tonight.
When Cactus comes out...
Cactus, good lord.
he's got your 6, my 9.
Yeah. Brandon gets it.
I love it, but I'm also just, it's fine. It's fine.
This is the beast you created, Nick.
It is. It's true.
Yeah, so going in, I was just, it's going to be a fun movie. I've heard some good things. People are liking it. But boy, oh boy, let me tell you what. I love this movie. This movie's so good. It's like no spoilery reviews, but it's just like I love the practicality of this.
Sure.
Really works. What they're doing in the air is amazing, and they're legitimately doing it. There's some shots of some aerial maneuvers and some fights that are just amazing. It seems like the technology has caught up with what this movie needed. And so that was really, really great. I think having not know anything about this entire franchise, movie, whatever, I followed it perfectly fine. I knew what was going on. Tom Cruise is just this old guy coming back in, doing his thing.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job. I liked following the characters, even though I didn't know anything about the characters, and I followed it, and I loved it. So that's all really I gotta say. It's just that without going into any spoilers, I liked it a lot, fellas.
What's your score?
It's tricky because I think it's a fun, great movie, but I do have some flaws with it. I don't think it would be perfect, but it's fun and I love it, and I think some of the stuff it does is really great. Right now, I think I would give it an 8.5. And yeah, I
Very
think that's
nice.
where I'll leave it there.
It's very good. All right, Brandon. What do you got?
Spoiler free.
Spoiler free.
Fantastic movie. I had a high bar going in, and it was met, which I was
Wow.
happy about.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Like Michael said, the cinematography, the shots they got were amazing.
For sure.
And some of the shots from the original movie, you're like, oh man, that could be so much better. Because I watched it the night before, and I was like, this is really, really good for the 80s. But it's 2022,
Right.
and
Right.
so I wanted it to be a lot better, and it was. And yeah, spoiler free. Nothing earth shattering, but all of it was great.
No, it's perfect. We'll I mean, we're gonna chip away at all of this, so it's totally fine if we leave it kind of vague. Yeah, I like you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from with the old one. I'm like, I don't know. I thought going into this, I was like, when I was hearing kind of the buzz and everyone's like, dude, this is actually like pretty good. Like, hey, you should watch it. It's good. I took that as like go in expecting like a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like I don't know, it's Top Gun. Like I mean, like what's
What's gonna be bad about
what's
it?
the peak?
Yeah.
But I'm also like, but knowing like all of the behind the scenes stuff of like, you can't even tell what's fake in this movie because I'm pretty sure most of it's real.
Yeah.
Like especially like Tom Cruise flying, like for sure is like he's just literally flying a jet and they have a camera on him. Like it's insane. I like it like blew my expectations out of the water. I came back that night and just like I had to tell Michael a little bit about it. I was like, dude, I was so selling this thing short. I was like, it's gonna be just a bro. Remember Top Gun, bro? Nice, bro. We're doing it, bro. Like I thought the whole movie was just gonna be that. I thought the whole movie was just gonna be that. And like it starts off. This isn't but like Danger Zone starts the movie. You're just like,
we're back.
Okay. And this feels like an 80s movie and a 2022 movie at the same time. It's just such a weird it like and it had no right to be as good as it was and it just killed it. It absolutely just
I think this movie should be what you said. It should be 7 out of 10. It should be like, oh, it's a sequel from a 40-year-old movie. It's like, it's fine. But this movie being this good, it's amazing. It's crazy. This should not be a thing.
Never in a million years would I would have thought, Nick, you're going to go in and see Top Gun Maverick and you're going to come out and like really struggle with like how high you really do want to rate this. Because like I was like, we've never discussed 11 out of 10 on a podcast. And so I was like, it's obviously not that. There's flaws for sure. But I was like, can I actually leave this movie thinking it could be like a 9 out of 10 or even like closer to like a 10 out of 10? Could I actually do that? Like it wasn't even I couldn't even register that it could like be that high. So I think I was like so conflicted where I was like, I have to find something wrong with this movie. And I kept thinking about it and I kept thinking about it and I can't. I can't. And so I'm actually going to be above where you're at, Michael, and I'm going to be giving this I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I'm going to stay at 9. I'm going to stay at 9.
Okay, stay at 9. That's going to go up after spoilers.
I was definitely pretty hot out of the theater where I was like, I think there's some things that we can discuss where I'm like, hey, this. But when I say 9 out of 10, that's not only is it recommended, but it's like this is a cinematic experience, which we've talked about, where it's like this should be witnessed. Like it actually does something with the medium that like I can't think of another movie that has, even though it's using objects that we've already seen in movies. Like it's just jets. Like we know that like we've had a bunch of these movies, but for some reason this feels like, without being overly CGI'd, like the closest thing we can to just having a real life version of this, you know? Yeah. And it pretty much was. I mean, like I can't even think of a scene where I was like, I bet that was CGI.
I think very little was.
Yeah, I think it was just they literally filmed.
Amazing. Yeah.
I mean, even I want to talk about the beginning one because the beginning scene was even crazier to begin with too. Yeah. But anyway,
I think you had a story that you wanted to share. But right before we go into that, I think, did we ever get your score,
No,
Brandon?
I didn't give it, and I am gonna sound like a total faker by giving it, but I kid you not, I thought about it before coming, and I pretty much split you guys, and I was like, it was close to a 9 for me, but there were a few things that I might get to when we talk spoilers that I docked it just a tiny bit, and I ended up at an 8.8.
Which is okay. Let's go.
9 is like no objections, must see. You have to see this.
Correct.
Like, if I tell you, yeah, you got to see it. So
yeah,
nearly a must see.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see or to hear, like, because you rated the first one a 9, and what would be the difference between that and this movie?
Yep, sure, we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, well, that's your spoiler-free review. Now it's just guns a-blazing.
Guns a-blazing.
Sun's out, guns out, sand volleyball, sand football, we're doing it. Like, spoilers are happening right now.
Offensive and defensive
Offense
football.
and defense. Let's do this. Okay. How would you like to start us off?
Cactus. Oh, boy. Cactus. Oh, Cactus is flying high.
Point us with your...
Point us north.
Yeah.
Well, I got my laser sights targeted onto currently, let's start at the beginning. I think well, this is the beginning of like them taking off in the aircraft. I'm like, that's like, oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thumbs up, great. And then Danger Zone starts. I'm like, I'm into it.
Yeah.
But this, I think what is really great is how this movie starts, and coming from knowing absolutely nothing, I'm like, okay, I'm following everything that's going on right now.
Yep.
I know like Tom Cruise is like, he wants this little mission to succeed, and he's just like he's an adrenaline junkie, and he belongs in the air, and he's past his prime. His kind is dying off. Like, this is like his last thing. This is his thing. This is the last thing that he can do in his life. Like, his life's work is this. And so I think they painted that super well just out of the gate of like this whole, he goes up and he does this Mach 10 mission, which is shot just.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's incredible.
It's probably like the most beautiful shot of the movie, which is wild because you're like, there's still so much to come.
Yeah.
But it is just truly like, it's like quiet like almost like space, but it's not. He's just moving so fast that it almost feels sci-fi. Mm-hmm. You're like, what is this movie?
Maybe that's what I liked about it. It got to close to the sci-fi, and I'm like, this is something cool.
Yeah.
And the way like with the trail, and it's like he's like curving off to the left. Oh, it's beautiful. I loved it. I loved it so
really
much.
Cool shots.
And like, and like, I think a lot of this movie is like, this is gonna work, and it's gonna succeed, but there is still some tension of like, I don't know, like what, like it's just shot so well that I think it still creates that tension of, it creates a great scene, even though you kind of know it's gonna work out. It still creates a great scene.
Yeah.
So
for sure, yeah,
I love the beginning part.
It sets you up for who Maverick is as a character if you've never known Maverick as a character.
Yeah,
and it basically tells us nothing has changed.
Yeah,
like who have seen stuff where it's like, my man, he's back. And so I think you're right. Like, this is one of those weird sequels where you don't have to be the guy who's like, I've been watching this for years.
Yeah,
I was
dissected
prepared.
Every frame.
I can enjoy this way more than you can. It's like, no, I think it was just like, they finally justified writing a sequel instead of just that it needs to make money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it feels like one of those where you're like, okay, maybe it was worth the wait. Like, maybe they actually did figure out what to do. And I think the way they start this off is just perfect because you're like, how is it going to get to where it's Top Gun again? Yeah. Because he does this, and you're like, this is the furthest thing from Top Gun that I can think of is spaceship flying, essentially. Like, he literally has like an oxygen. Yeah. Like, he literally looks more like an astronaut at the beginning of this film than he does.
Well, they make that great joke when he like crash lands and he goes into that diner. It's like, where am I? Earth?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's good. I like that.
That was pretty.
That was good.
Yeah. Is it even possible for people to go Mach 10, or is that just for fun?
No, you could go Mach 10, right?
I don't know.
I think so.
Because then they say like when he got to 9 that he was the fastest man alive.
Well, because he probably is the fastest man alive.
Well,
he's Barry Allen in the Flash,
The thing is, though, even going Mach 10, is that as fast as Tom Cruise can actually run? You know what I mean? That's the real question.
10.3.
Okay, fair enough.
But they couldn't go there. They couldn't give that out in the movie.
That depends, Nick. Is he running by himself, or is there someone next to him?
That's true, because, man, there's a scene later in this movie where he's running in the snow, and I'm like, I bet he just ran a 4-minute mile. Like, it was the fastest I've ever seen a human run. It's the craziest thing ever. I love Tom Cruise.
I love how he did have to shoehorn him running in a movie about flying.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to. Yeah. I told you, like, this is like the most Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
Top Gun has ever been. but then it's also just really Top Gun.
Yeah, it's just both. It's insane.
He's gotten his craft to where it needs to be, and it just happened to synergize with what they wanted to do for the sequel.
It's basically Mission Impossible.
Because he didn't change. Like he's clearly
6.5.
still just doing the Tom Cruise thing.
Yeah.
But I will say this is the most like acting I've seen him do in a while.
Yeah, I'd say that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Ethan Hunt's not really like
Nothing to
just
chew
go
on.
run and get punched by that guy.
Yeah.
Nothing against it. Do what you got to do. But like
there's way
there was
more
like
here.
some scenes in this movie where he's like, I guess I actually have to like show you like emotion and things like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brandon. I feel like you're hungry to say something. No,
Only that
I can't see your eyes. So
the
that
day
can't
before
work.
I went to the movie, I was telling my brother, like, I'm not a Tom Cruise fan, you know, even though I like a lot of his movies. Mission Impossible's amazing. And he was like, well, don't go into the movie like that. Like, you know what this movie's called, right? It's Top Gun Maverick, which is his call sign.
Yeah.
So, like, open-minded, and I'm really glad he said that because I enjoyed it a lot more. 'Cause throughout the movie, it is very evident, like, that's a Tom Cruise-ism. Like, he clearly had a ton of influence and direction.
Sure.
And executive producer, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he introduces the movie and saying like "thanks for coming out" and stuff, like I'm assuming that happened at yours too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because that must have just been like a nationwide thing.
Oh yeah. He's like, bring back cinema. You know.
Because that kind of ties into like I don't know. I think it was while he was filming this, but there was that big video that leaked or
That was on
audio
Mission
that
Impossible, I believe.
was it Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
Okay,
But still.
but he's basically like he has taken it upon himself to be like the savior of cinema during this pandemic, you know, like we have to do this. If we don't do this, Hollywood doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know if you're like I think movies will still keep going.
Yeah.
Like, but if you want to say that you're the crusader, God bless you. Like
Well,
I'll show you.
there's an interesting point in being made of like there's a lot going on here of like Tom Cruise's or I guess Maverick's career ending, but also like Tom Cruise's career ending, but also
It did
like
feel very
this movie career, like this type of movie, this action, just like very
Interesting.
practical, non-superhero movie that's just kind of like, hey, we're just gonna go just action and
Yeah.
not have like Marvel connected to it. Of like, is this movie dying as well? Is this the last hurrah of like some kind of like great action flick?
That's that's a really good point. Like big budget films are either superhero or they're the Rock movies.
Yes.
And like this is somehow neither of those.
Yes, this is like we
But
don't get
it's
a movie
still a
like this all the time.
blockbuster.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
it's super rare
It's a
to get a
different
movie
breed.
like this. Yeah, and so I think in a way, I mean, I maybe it's super egotistical of Tom Cruise to say that, but I think in a way he's kind of doing it. I
He's
mean,
saving it.
It's a revival.
Yeah, it is a revival. It's so true. And so, I mean, as crazy as the guy is, I'm there with him. I'm like,
in.
yeah,
Hey.
you gotta. If he's gonna push for it, cool. I don't think there's anyone else who has that power that could do what he does.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom Cruise.
Thank you for your... But no, I mean I think there's something to be said about that. Like I think like I agree that I think it's silly to think like you're actually saving something, but at the same time there is something to be said about like there is something very special about this film. So when I hear him say something like that, at least it was behind a special project. Like if
Yeah.
I heard The Rock going like, if Rampage 2 doesn't come out, I swear, like we
Cinema's
have to
over.
say like I'm not too worried about it, you
Yeah.
know. But like this feels like an important film. Like this will be, without knowing what the last half of this year is, I would say it's going to be in the top 5 movies that I would recommend of 2022.
Flat out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm obviously looking forward to some other ones, but like, I don't think this will go unnoticed, and maybe even get some like Oscar buzz. I could totally see this getting like, I don't even know if you would even get visual effects for this because there might not be any.
I think you could.
But like, is it just because it's just well
It's
shot?
just practical. Well, you could get
So
cinematography.
cinematography,
You could do that. You could probably get sound design. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
but it's like, are we actually gonna see like Top Gun get nominated? Like,
Maybe.
that's just blowing
I'd
my
see it.
mind. Like that's why I think I came in so hot afterwards because I was like, I just had so many expectations of this just being another like let's just high five each other, and I did want to high five a lot of guys after this movie. like I said, I was telling these guys beforehand, but like there were 5 just dads sitting in front of me, and they all had Coors Lights and like cargo shorts and like baseball caps on, and by the end of this movie, I was like, I think I just need to go hug them, right? Like, that's how this works. Like,
We're
just
bros
dads
now.
look at each other and just kind of, like, do the, like, Robert Redford, like, You're just like, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to do? It was awesome. What an experience.
Yeah.
Like, that, maybe that's pushing it up, like, a point more than, you know, like, where you're at or whatever. For me, I'm just like, hey, guys, go hug a dad in the theater there. It's pretty sick.
They should have a dad outside of every theater.
Just like, hey.
Just
Just wearing, like, an American flag or something. Like
American
I don't know.
flag tank top.
It was
With
insane.
American flag
Oh,
hat.
and on my way into the theater, there was a guy whose spare tire cover was just an American eagle or American flag with a bald eagle flying, and I'm just like,
God bless America.
I was so primed to just like want to cry red, white, and blue tears after this film. Like, it was the craziest thing I've ever. It wasn't even the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was wild.
God bless America. I'll tell you what.
I feel like Nick's about to enlist.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I know. If it wasn't for the one kidney thing, I would have been a pilot or whatever. But like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But so going off of that, so great opening shot to really like set the tone. I feel like this is just another payoff where it's like his punishment is basically to be a teacher, you know, and it's like, oh, classic. We've seen this one before or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, there's this like meta-ness to it that it's Maverick, who like his whole character is that you can't replicate him.
Yeah.
You know, like he's the Steve Rogers. Like, it's like the special part of him is not something that can be attained. It's what he is, you know? And so it already starts you off in kind of a weird spot, but you know that they're building up to something kind of crazy if they need him to be a teacher. It's like, is there some politics at play? And then you find out that there are. Like, anyway, what are your guys' thoughts of him, like his punishment and being shipped off to Top Gun?
We want to go for it?
Go for it.
I don't really have much, but yeah, it's interesting to take his character. I mean, getting from the little I know of, like he is the best to being this teacher, and I think one of the reasons that I did have that was a negative in this movie was I feel like they were leading into that he's not the best. Like, he doesn't need to be. I thought they were going to lean into he doesn't need to be the one in the steering wheel. He doesn't need to be in the cockpit. So to kind of build that up and then have it be like, oh no, he's the best, and everyone he's the only one that can ever fly a plane. I felt that was a little negative in my mind. It was still like, okay, you know what, Tom Cruise, like, you know what, just pop off, go and do it.
Did you like actually believe when you thought that Tom Cruise wasn't going to be flying a plane in this movie?
No.
Oh, okay. Just
but
like,
I thought it would be interesting. I thought that would be the next step of his character.
Sure.
Because all of us at some point aren't the best.
Gotta hang it up.
We gotta hang it up, and I
Right.
thought this was going to be the one where he hangs it up, or at least like I thought he was going to push something more and learn something. I thought that was going to be at least something that was going to go on. So I thought for me that was like, I'm not like a huge negative. I'm like saying like, oh, of course Tom Cruise is going to come back and do it. But I thought if they pushed that a little more, it'd be, in my mind, at least a growth of his character.
Yeah.
fair enough. That's fair feedback.
I think similarly, they asked him to go back and teach these younger pilots to do an impossible mission that couldn't be done.
You're saying a mission impossible.
A mission, mission impossible. Weird. And I thought that he was going to go into that and, you know, he was going to prove that he was the best of the best of the best because he's the only one that was a good enough pilot to teach these young ones how to complete the mission. And they told him he wouldn't be flying, he'd be teaching them how to do it. But of course he's Tom Cruise, so like he does fly the final mission. And it could have been cool if he had been like the most incredible teacher to teach them how to do it. But it was still so dang cool when he did it himself.
Oh, it's so
right,
cool.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that doesn't take away from how cool it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like maybe if this was a trilogy and the third one was him hanging it up and being a teacher and like has to let go. But it felt like there was so much unfinished business from the first one where it's like, because there's really only like, there's not even like really a mission in the first one. Like all the real bad stuff happens during like training and stuff. And then there's like a dogfight, but it's not like that's what maybe I thought, like Top Gun to me doesn't really feel complete because it's not like they train and then like go complete a mission.
Got it.
They like train and then like are randomly ambushed, and then he has to like do some stuff. And
Okay,
it's like
so
Top
maybe
Gun's over.
to me, I haven't gotten that first part.
Right.
So it's like,
And so it is kind of unfinished, where it's like, one, my co-pilot died. His son is like really good, but his mother's dying wish was that I wouldn't like let him go forward. But he's still the best of the best. He's kind of like me. What do I do? Because what would I have done if I was in his, shoes? And like, I just felt like they created like an immense amount of like really cool tension that I was not expecting on a character level.
Yeah.
In this film. And I think that's where it got me. It was like there was these like layers of, he meets back up with Penny, who I think is like name dropped in the first one or something, but like never actually in it. But Jennifer Connelly plays like ex-love interest thing that he kind of just keeps, old flame that he kind of keeps coming back to. But then there's layers to that where it's like, hey, you can't keep making mistakes. Like, and that's kind of his whole thing is, you've always been a captain, never like further beyond. Like, you kind of keep, every time you get close, you kind of like keep going 2 steps backward. It's kind of a thing. And so I just liked that they created all of this, because you just feel this sense of burden that Maverick's feeling like everywhere. Whereas when he finally, that's why when he makes the mistakes, it's like because he finally gets a glimpse of freedom and he goes, I'm going to take it. And then that's what causes more burden. It's like every time he's like has control, he goes, I think I'm going to push it just a little further, which is how the movie starts off with him like, don't do it. Just play by the rules. And he's like, I can't, I'm sorry. And then you finally, what I do personally like about his arc is that even though he does fly the mission, he isn't the one that actually destroys the base.
Sure.
He's only the one that opens it for someone else to save the day. And then proceeds to like get shot down and all this. Like, in a lot of ways, he puts himself last, which he's never done in this. And so like he kind of has like all this really cool growth. So even though he is flying, it ends up, I think, paying off in the end.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Definitely. I think there is growth, and there is a dynamicness. I don't know. To that decision of like, yeah, I'm still doing it, and he is, Foxtrot 1 or whatever it's called. So he is still the best of the best. I just felt like, I don't know, maybe I had something against it where I was like, maybe I did kind of want him to die. Like, I wanted that sacrifice to mean something. But I think it was nice to have him and Rooster connect and like...
Oh, for sure.
And have all that. So I think that connection with Rooster was really pivotal to like, that makes the movie really, is him and Rooster and how that reconnection happens. And
yeah, that was phenomenal. Miles Teller was phenomenal. I think the one thing maybe you missed, Michael, if I can throw a spoiler out for the first one, because I know you're going to watch it, is Goose's performance. So Rooster's dad from the first movie was awesome, and I think that did add a lot of complexity to Maverick's relationship with Rooster in the second one, which is really, really great. The frustration between them was real. The you're not my dad kind of feeling.
I get that.
Yeah. But I do have to disagree a little bit, Nick, on I think you said that he like put himself last. Like, he did what needed to be done for the team, I think, and he definitely grew. Yeah. But I think he still knew, and this isn't wrong of him, but like he knew I am the best, so like I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna send someone else in my place because it still needs to be me. Yeah, there were some like honorable things of like, hey, how about we just save a life by sending me? But I think there was also this like really cool line where he's like, these guys don't know that this is actually achievable. Yeah. And so we've kept telling them it's impossible, well, let's keep trying anyway. And so they're all like basically just living in fear the whole time. You have like a Rooster who like takes it way too slow the whole time. He's like, but at least I achieved it. And it's like, yeah, but you're still dead. Doesn't matter. And then Tom Cruise just badass flies the whole route. Then he just like way under time. Correct. Yeah. Did it like 15 seconds faster just to show you like it can. And I think there is something to that. Like when you can see it done, now you can follow and like you can like. And so yeah, I agree. Did he have to be like classic Maverick? Like he had to do it. But like in some ways, yeah, without doing that,
because he still
Is it a
couldn't
Top
he
Gun
still couldn't
movie?
have achieved the goal without 3 other people flying planes. You know what I mean? Like, it still can't boil down to just him. But if it wasn't for his performance, would those 3 people have even flew the way that they did? You know,
I think there is something to it. Like, it is still an '80s action movie. I think in my mind, it's still like, you know what? One of the things is it is pretty predictable in certain aspects of, like, you know, they're gonna win and they're gonna beat the bad guys and we did it. And so there is that, like, you know, Tom Cruise needs to do it. He needs to go out there and he needs to be the hero. Like, there is that aspect to it. I think there is enough growth there that to have that development and have that, like, oh, there is something more here. But I think where the negatives come in for me is, like, there is some predictability in that. And that doesn't make it bad. That just means I think they could have, like, on a character level, done, like, just a little bit more. I'm not saying, like, that's bad at all. I still, like, loved it. I still love what they did with it. Like, what they did with the characters elevates this movie over just the visuals.
Well, there's also this, like, meta-ness to it, too, where we're all just kind of still cheering on the fact that Tom Cruise is almost 60 years old and can still do it. So I feel like he's kind of having, like, what Liam Neeson had when he'd made Taken, where we're just like, dude, do it until you die. Like, come on. Like, we just cheered him on, you know? And now, obviously, like, Liam Neeson just makes the same movie over and over again. But, like, now we're kind of, like, over it. But I feel like that's where we're at with Tom Cruise. I feel like we're kind of reaching his victory lap. But I think he's the kind of person that's like, I'm not passing the baton.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to keep going. And I just feel like he's never going to
stop.
I'll go for it.
And so it's like, hey, if the movies that you make going forward are basically Top Gun Maverick,
sure, keep going.
Okay, great. Like,
I'll keep going.
Let's do it. Like, that's totally fine. But there is that level of, like, I think I'm almost wondering, is Maverick even a unique character from Tom Cruise, or is it just Tom Cruise?
No, it's just Tom Cruise.
It's just Tom, and so that's what also makes me go, like, he's just never. He'll involve people. He's always been good at involving people, but it's never gonna come at the cost of him not being at, like. He's literally Tony Stark, the human being. You know, like you know what I mean. Like, he's like he'll, but I just don't think he'll ever have an in-game moment. I think he's just going to always cut the wire. Like, I'm there. So it's weird. Like, we literally get to live out Tony Stark in the MCU, and then we get to live out Tom Cruise in real life.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so I got to jump in with the one thing I had to say about this movie, because you said he's good at involving people, and then you said cutting the wires of cutting. So my favorite band is 21 Pilots.
Yes, tell us more about this.
They were supposed to do one of the main songs for the movie.
Interesting.
And the lead singer came out after, you know, showing up on set and, like, learning a little bit about it, and started writing the song, didn't even really get into writing. Tom Cruise fired us and was just like,
just straight up
cut from the movie. So
wow.
I was sad, because I'm a huge 21 Pilots fan, and I guess Tom said we already have enough pilots here, so
don't need 21 more pilots.
Well, that's why I was wondering when you sent that. You're like, is it just because they were pilots, so they were trying to be, like, super, like, on the nose about it, or if it was because then Lady Gaga sang the song.
Yeah, that's what they replaced.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. If Tom Cruise in his ear knew that Lady Gaga was maybe the second option, when I saw the movie open with Hans Zimmer and Lady Gaga, I was like, what is the weakness to this movie? But I feel bad for your boys.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Huh,
because
that's weird.
A lot of the score and the soundtrack was identical to the first one, which I had no problem with, because it still worked.
Yeah. But I was actually surprised how well Lady Gaga's song kind of just bled into it being
good.
the epilogue song or whatever. Like, that was pretty wild. I was, like, wondering what her involvement was throughout the whole film. And then when he's fixing up that old bird that he takes out at the end, I was just like, there it is. I loved it. Here's a question I had. The scene where he's fixing the airplane.
Yes.
At the very beginning, and then he gets on his motorcycle. I assumed that was, like, present. Or no, I assumed that was, like, in the past, and then Miles Teller and him at the end, that was just a completely different shot. But was his picture with Miles Teller just, like, always on there, and that was just a flash forward? Or was it always, like,
that's tricky. I assumed it was
he wore
in the
same
past,
shirt and everything.
he, like...
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of that.
It was weird.
I always think it was in the past, and he, like... Just has a
it was a
picture
good
of
parallel.
Goose's kid.
Beginning where he's alone, and then at the end he's like, I've
With
got
somebody?
Goose with
Whoa.
me, and I got a lady. So like, it all made sense, like
Yeah.
poetically or whatever.
I don't think they did anything
Okay.
funky with that. But that's a
Okay.
good point out.
I will say too, like you said, Brandon, like Miles Teller killed it, but like Miles Teller as Goose's son, just appearance wise, was like, I've never felt more about like, you picked the right actor because of the acting, but also like you never picked you picked the right actor because of the way that they looked.
He looked like his kid.
Like I was like, holy crap, like they did it. Like that's Goose's son. Like the flashback of him playing Great Balls of Fire on the piano, and then flashes to Goose, and then flashes back. I'm just like, okay, yeah. I mean, like they kind of like handheld us a little bit, like, hey, remember this is Goose's son, but like it was perfect to just be like they'd figured out a way to do it. Like even the stash and everything. It's like, I mean, Michael, you're pretty much the closest thing that looks like him, you know.
Yes,
but
sir.
Definitely.
usually that tight of a mustache doesn't really get pulled off, especially by like Miles Teller of all people. But
Yeah.
like it just worked. I mean, he obviously was shredded for this movie too, but like still insane. What other scenes would you guys like to?
So one question I had was, in the very beginning, the problem, kind of the conflict is the boss who is coming to shut down the operation where he's trying to break Mach 10 says, you know, like, pilots are done, we're going with drones, like,
Yeah.
then we don't have to lose lives, yada yada. So then they do this impossible mission where one of the hardest things about it is getting out alive. Like, getting in to make the bombing run was one thing, and then getting out alive was like challenge number 2, or like miracle number. No, the second bomb was miracle number 2. But anyway,
Yeah, they thought everyone was going to die.
Right,
Like, this
they
was
did.
this is a one-way mission.
and so the question I have is, like, I feel like they didn't really explain why drones wouldn't have worked for the missions.
Great question.
It was like
Could they not fly that
they
low?
couldn't
Maybe
fly
they
that
couldn't fly that
low,
low,
and
okay.
they would have got shot down by all the anti-air missiles.
Okay.
And so you had to have a canyon, fly super fast. You have to have 2 minutes there, and you had to have a person.
So maybe like the signal to the drones wouldn't work that low in like the mountainous
Yeah, I
valley.
think that's
Oh, it
why.
wouldn't go fast enough, I don't think.
Because if you
Okay.
can't see him
Yeah.
on radar, I don't even know if you could remote
Sure.
or whatever.
Okay.
Maybe is why they explained it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a good
something
question. I like that
It
explanation.
was probably like a 10-second thing where they're like, anyways, people got to do it.
That's good.
But
for
you're
me.
right, it
I
is
felt
a-
like it was like, wait, why wouldn't have?
It's such a whiplash to like, we're gonna get replaced soon. Anyway, only humans can
Yeah.
do this. And we're just like, wait, what? Okay. So I agree. There was kind of like a whiplash there, but especially like with I was confused by the bombs. Like I was like, how have we not figured out how to just shoot the thing? Like why do they have to have like a wingman?
Yeah.
Well, that was
like, zoom
my
in
second
and stuff.
question.
Yeah.
Was some of the pilots had wingmans meant to shoot the bombs, and in the first movie, everybody had a partner in the back
Right.
seat. Goose was that for Maverick, and he didn't have one. Like some of them did. Actually, the only one I remember is Bob in the back.
Yeah, there was
Bob
2
and then
planes.
Payback.
Yeah.
Oh, Payback. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
And they each were on different teams, so there was like basically 3 people per team.
Okay.
So you had Maverick flying solo, and then it was the
Phoenix.
with
And Bob.
okay.
and then it was
Rooster.
Rooster with Payback and
Coyote? No, it wasn't
Coyote.
Coyote. Was
yeah,
it Coyote?
yeah, you're right.
So maybe the reason why
They
Tom
have to
didn't need
radio.
a
They had to do
backseat-
the thermal like imaging,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's like linked up to then the solo flying's missile, because maybe that's how it was.
It's something like that, like the laser, like, because they were talking, Bob, either he was Goose, or all these people. Maverick talking to Goose, Maverick talking to Bob. There we go.
Nice.
And like when he shot it, you had to like, do you have the laser on? So then Maverick shot it, and it followed Bob's missile for some reason. I don't know. That's what
yeah,
I
like I
followed.
think that's what kept it on target, was they had to keep that locked in so the missiles would actually go there.
Yeah.
Both of them.
So it was a manual process, and so that's
Both
what the
teams
wings
had to do
because
that.
2 people had to fly. One could only drop the bombs. The other was the one that, I guess, instead of bombs, they had the radio system, so they
Sure.
couldn't carry both or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a little finicky, I think, for sure. Bob, by the way, I did confirm, is Bill Pullman's son.
Oh, got it.
So it was Independence Day. Like, I was
God
like,
bless
oh, this is
America.
kind of what I feel. It just gave me Independence Day vibes, and then when you see him, it's like, you look like a young president,
Yeah.
what's his face, from
Pullman.
Independence Day. Oh, it's beautiful.
It was good.
It's beautiful. Yeah, no, that was crazy. I also thought the movie was over after they shot
Oh,
the
yeah.
bombs. I was like,
Yeah.
what a movie, guys.
Yeah.
And then Maverick gets shot down. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, wait, there's still like 45 minutes
Yeah,
left.
I had a initial reaction of like, oh, this is weird to do, but then I loved it. I loved him and Rooster
Yeah.
tag
perfect.
teaming it,
Oh, it's
and
awesome.
like stealing a plane, and then he ends up in the plane from the original movie, and then they come. Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's super cheesy, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. And you get Rooster like literally a chance to be like his dad version of a co-pilot and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, yeah, it was very fan service, but not at the expense of the plot. And that's a beautiful thing when that happens.
Yeah, I actually did have questions about that. Of like, I didn't know any of the references going on here. Apparently, there was a bunch of them.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
There's a huge one that if you want me to tell it to you, I will, but it will be a massive spoiler for the first movie.
Oh, all I know is that Goose dies. That's pretty much the only spoiler I know.
Are you talking about his shoot or
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
that
it's how Goose dies.
Oh yeah, I think there was something. I think there wasn't there a flashback.
Yeah, so they show
'Cause
you
he
in
died-
the movie
he died- yeah.
technically, but like when he pulls, it like gets caught, and so it snaps him really fast.
Uh-huh.
And so with I think what you were saying,
Rooster had to pull the eject in
Yeah.
the same way,
And it wasn't working.
but then it did, and they both survived this time.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Okay,
But
got
it
it.
was kind of like a moment where the audience that had watched it would be like, oh no,
Oh,
he can't
okay.
he can't
Exactly.
get
I was
out.
like-
So
yeah, I was like,
what's gonna
Are they
happen?
Is
Yeah.
the eject gonna
Are they
fail
gonna
again?
literally do this to him all over again? You know.
Got it.
And he's already, I mean, if you're in Maverick's head too, you're like, okay, we finally succeeded. I probably shouldn't have even brought him on the team, but he was the right man for the job.
Mhm.
Now he came back for me, and so then he shoves him down, and it kind of felt funny. Like everyone was like, haha, and it's like, no, that's exactly what he's feeling. He's like, dude, I saved you.
Yeah.
Like,
Why are you
get
here?
out of here.
Yeah.
And he came back, so he's just sitting there going like, please. And so it just made every action that he made where he's like, I can't think, I just have to do, because that's the only way we're
Who
getting
told
out of
you
this. Oh,
You
dude.
did.
It was so good.
It was very.
I mean, the last hour of that film, I don't think
That's
I
great.
blinked.
Yeah.
I just noticed myself, I was like, oh, wait, I haven't. Okay,
my
I'm
eyes
going to
really
blink.
dry.
I have to blink on purpose now. It was
Better
like,
than
it was
Arizona
just,
desert. I'll tell you what.
and I think that's what was so surprising was none of that was in the film or in any of the trailers. I think it was just truly like, what are we about to witness? And it did a really good job, you know?
Yeah. So some of the maneuvers they made, like when they flip upside down into the mountain, I'm like, this is
so cool.
This is a
Yeah.
Tom Cruise out of 10.
Yeah, he said you can only enter inverted,
Mm-hmm.
so
So-
start off upside down.
Yeah. So let's have a cool shot.
Oh,
It's-
and when they are starting, I think it's day one of training, and
He
the
just, like-
two pilots are flying next to each
Oh,
other,
yeah.
and he just splits them right through the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
All-
cool.
Or the one where he just
yeah.
gently like rotates above them and
Oh,
just like,
yeah,
hey, you ready to
hello.
fly? And
Good
you're just
morning,
like, dude,
yeah.
this is
It,
insane.
it does two things at once. Have a great shot.
Yeah.
Super cool. And then just shows his skill.
Yep.
For sure.
So.
Well,
oh,
and that's what I really enjoyed. Like the stuff that can't be faked or acted was like when he's like going super fast and it's like jerking his body, or when he's like pulling up and you just see like his face doesn't look like, hey, I'm acting. I'm like, watch me get like, bruh. It's like I'm about to pass out.
Yeah.
Like it looked incredibly authentic and
'Cause
like
it was.
the
It
noises his
was.
body was making. Like I don't think you can act that. It's just
Yeah.
like your body is literally. This is the only response you're gonna get from him for the next 5
There's
minutes.
a shot with Miles Teller when he's not like buckled in correctly, so he like hits the window. That was like legit. Like he was
I saw that.
he like actually messed up.
Yeah.
But they put it in. Oh, anytime they were in a plane, any shots with the plane, it was
It's not clear
Beautiful.
that any of the other people actually flew.
well, they didn't fly themselves. They were in the plane, but they had somebody in
with a
front of them
co-pilot?
flying.
Okay.
So they were not flying, but they were
Interesting.
in the plane.
And they were experiencing the G's.
Yes.
And
Really? So they
yeah.
did do all
They-
that.
yeah,
okay.
they did all that.
Okay. I just knew Tom Cruise like definitely he had a lot more camera angles than the other ones did too,
Oh, yeah, 'cause
which
he-
kind of
yeah.
was like not like I could kind of see through it a little bit. Like, oh, why are you only like every Rooster shot was pretty much just
Head
straight.
straight on, yeah.
So like, okay, was this just the production or whatever? But that's cool to know that
'Cause there was
basically
someone in front of
everybody
them
flew.
flying.
Wow.
They were in a plane the entire time. There was one session with with Rooster where
Mm-hmm.
he was like he like recorded over previous footage, and so like they've just lost an entire day of footage because like they go up to the plane and then they fly around for an hour and the director can't do anything. He's like, hey, you gotta do this, this, and this, and it's like okay. And so if you mess up that shot, well, it's like a whole hour just done. Like and then it costs money, because they're renting out these pilots and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so like there was one time where he like accidentally recorded over like some previous footage and the director got mad at him, but. So, like, all that stuff they did, like, all that stuff in the plane they recorded, like...
That's cool.
Going up there and actually doing it. So, yeah, I think that
heightens the experience then, because...
100%.
There's just things that... Maybe that's what was so cool about it, because everything else, you always have that, like, cockpit shot, but then it, like, zooms out, and then it becomes a CGI shot. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this just like, never felt like
10% that. 10% of the shot is real, and then there's a green screen in the background. It's like, that's...
Not this movie.
Not this movie.
Like Independence Day would be a good example, where it's like, here's the cockpit shot, and then bad CGI. You know,
that's why your eyes were open for an hour, because like there wasn't a moment where it's like, hey, was that real or not?
Right.
Or was like, oh, that kind of looked a little funky. It's like none of this looked fake. I can't even tell you where what they did or how they did any of this stuff.
I agree.
Like it was just like, it was great.
The one thing that I thought was interesting, so I watched Val Kilmer's documentary that came out last year, where he was like opening up about what he's going through currently, where like I don't know what illness he got or if it was like some type of cancer or whatever, but
he got like throat cancer, I think.
But basically just kept him without a voice. Like he was still in good spirits and stuff, but like he still had to film this, and so it was really interesting seeing him like still get to do it, but they like used his real life story to almost create something that probably wouldn't have been in the original cut of this film. Like I almost wondered like if John Hamm's character would have just been Iceman.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know, but I'm almost like I prefer
what they did
with Iceman now instead. Like it was definitely like something that couldn't have been foreseen, but when they made it, they're just like, hey, we can probably figure this out. It's also crazy just to see those two sitting next to each other, though, and, like, they're both the same age. And it's just, like, it's just crazy, like, what...
Tom Cruise does not age, and Val Kilmer has aged a lot.
Like, whoa, this is wild. I didn't know that story. Yeah, but... So that's, like, obviously why he couldn't talk. Like, that's a real thing. And then, like, he kind of talks at the end, but...
Well, that's the most emotional scene, because, like, that's...
They killed it.
This is kind of like Tom Cruise almost saying goodbye to Val Kilmer in a way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, that's...
But you're right. A lot of this film does kind of feel like a swan song, and then you're kind of left at the end to be like...
Anyways, Tom Cruise is the best.
I think he's still here.
Yeah, that's why I felt like there is this dichotomy.
But I don't know if that, like, undersold it.
No, I don't think that undersold.
If he was 80 and we're like, dude, come on. Yeah. Like, Maverick 5, like, time to cut the... Like, it's time.
I don't think they should make another one. At least that's...
I don't know. I bet this movie makes... just a shit ton of money.
Yeah, they're gonna make one, but I don't want another one. I mean, but that's just me.
Yeah,
I would see another one.
Yeah.
I would see another one, but like story wise,
I don't think he would do it. In like everything that he's done sequels of have only been better. Mm-hmm. Like I will say, the Mission Impossibles have actually gotten better with age, which is crazy.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. And so Top Gun was no different. Like, he actually added something. So I feel like he's in the stage of his career where he has enough funding, he has enough approval that if the story's right, it'll get done.
Yeah.
I think the money is... I think he's killing it right now.
Yeah.
So
I think it's almost made as much money as, like, Doctor Strange. So, that's
But I also don't know what the budget is.
Oh, it's way less than, like, a Doctor Strange. Yeah. I don't know. I would say, like, 150.
But it was still probably quite a bit. I don't know.
Yeah. They made money, regardless.
Yeah, they're doing good, for sure.
Yeah, they're doing fine.
I think it's more popular than what people thought it was going to be.
I agree, yeah.
Well, I think people started seeing it, and they were like, that was really, really good.
Yeah, it's actually getting word-of-mouth traction. Yeah, for sure.
I think one topic on this movie that we haven't really hit that it needs to, like, be briefly addressed is the romance narrative.
Interesting.
And... not that we need to linger on it because it was a bro movie and it was like, hug a dad outside the theater. But I did feel like it got a lot less attention in the story than the first, and it wasn't meant to be as significant a part of the story. And like you said, the last hour, 45 minutes of the movie was incredible, and that was pretty much not a part of it. But I did like it overall, and I loved the scene where Tom Cruise is sneaking out of the window.
Oh, it's perfect.
And he drops down and looks into the first story window, right into the eyes of the daughter who had come home.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect.
But the cool thing there too is the daughter doesn't say something stupid.
No, she doesn't.
She says, "Just don't break her heart."
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Whoa,
That's
that wasn't like, haha, this is silly." It's like, no, this is real.
Then after that, he finds out,
That he has to
actually,
go.
I made the dumb decision of showing them that I can do it. So now they're telling me to do it. And
Yeah.
then he has to go and
talk to her.
You know, it's like, oh, dude, you just like,
You just probably
you just like. But no, I really appreciated it, and like there was something like really, I don't know, there's just like something like subtly beautiful about them. Like you could just tell they were really good friends.
Yeah.
That just had this connection, and like instead of doing the classic, like especially what they do in Top Gun, where it's like, hey, you're about to hook up with the lady, so here's a 90-second slow-mo of Tom Cruise making out with somebody. They do this thing where it's like it's implied that they obviously slept together, but then they just have this like really beautiful shot of them just talking and laughing and like stuff, like
enjoying each other.
he's like like he's still wrestling with all of his demons, but like he gets a chance to kind of like
Find a home.
have something nice, because I think he's just taken it upon himself to be like, I'm damaged goods, so I'm gonna live as a captain. I'm never gonna get higher. Like I'm gonna do all these things, and then like I think it's why he pushes everybody away. And so like I feel like it's not explicitly said, but I just feel like these little beats kind of add up to like he's about to change. I think, you know,
I think bringing it up is a good thing, even though it didn't have a huge pivotal point in the last hour. It's like they're still at stake because like you do care about their relationship.
Yeah.
I assumed initially that it was just the original girl from the first movie,
no,
but
Definitely
not.
not.
So
no, that was his flight instructor in the first one.
Got it.
Forbidden Love.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought they did great. There was chemistry there, like 100%. And so I think that really grounded him and gave him something to like latch onto. And then you see the change of like, oh, maybe I can do something that isn't flying, but then he gets kind of drugged back into it, and he has to do one last mission.
What do you think? Like we have to predict. Is he on some sort of supplement? Is he on sort like? What makes a man who's almost 6 years old be able to jump out of a building? Even though it was like a few, like whatever, he jumps out of like an attic and lands. But it's like, dude, people can't do that at that age. What are you doing? What do we
There's
think?
some kind of Hollywood drug.
Do you think it's
Supplements, plural.
Yeah, that's
supplements?
true. That is true.
You think it's like natural, or do you think it's supernatural, or like
So you're saying
unnatural?
aliens, whatever Scientology.
Well, no, I
thing
just feel
came
like
down.
is he on steroids, or do you think he just eats really healthy?
I think
and
it's
works
both.
out?
Both.
I think
Okay.
he has a great diet. I think
But
he
you
just
think he's
eats
maybe got a little
lettuce
extra help?
and like avocados.
Because that sand football game where you're just like, wait, which one of you is 60 and which one of you is 30? Oh no,
crazy.
I can't tell. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, I think he has he's just super strict about everything.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's a super intense guy.
Yeah, if you're that intense, I mean, there's some older guys that are jacked like that. So like, I don't
Sure.
think it's impossible.
It definitely made me want to do a lot more push-ups.
Yeah.
So I think I might use this as motivation.
So
to be
just have
like,
it on the background and just be like,
I don't want to use a walker. I want to be Maverick by the time I'm 59 years old.
yes,
It's
sir.
going to happen.
Yeah.
This movie changed my life in that regard. I'm going to be absolutely shredded the next time Top Gun comes out.
Is it going to be like a gradual approach to shredded, or like?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think there's going to be like a month where you guys just don't see me. And then I'm going to appear.
Yeah, no podcast this month.
The podcast.
I'm going to go radio
Only
silent. I'm just going to come out just looking like Chris Hemsworth in Thor. You
So
guys
what
are
you're
like,
saying
"What
in
happened?"
like 30 years when they make a Top Gun 3, we'll be the three dads, but we'll just be shredded.
Oh yeah.
Instead
One of us will be. One of us is going to still be Cactus, and the other one's going to be absolutely shredded.
And I'll be Fat Thor.
Okay, Fat Thor. We'll have 3 different Thor looks.
I'm glad that we have a dichotomy through all of us.
Perfect.
Yeah. One thing that I did love, it's just a really little thing that they did, and it's while they were in the planes, and when they were like turning to look, and they like touched the glass, like every time they did that,
Oh, yeah, to
I
look
was like,
back?
oh, this is so cool. I don't know why I love that so much. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Like them looking back and physically interacting with that. I don't know. I loved that.
It's true.
That was so cool.
Well, and if it's all real, like, you're right. Like, they're reacting in real time. Like,
Yeah.
there is a plane that is flying past them,
Yeah.
and some of the maneuvers that they did in this, like, when they're hunting down the new aircraft and they shoot a missile at it, and it just does, like, the stall where it just kind of, like,
Yeah.
gently, like,
and it just
rotates,
stops.
and then it starts flying again. You're just like...
And they're like, what the...
yeah, like, Tom Cruise, like, they can do that now. It's like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And did you notice that the enemy was, like, faceless?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were we even fighting?
That was my dad and I discussed it afterwards.
It's like
He's
stormtroopers.
I think they intentionally made it not like a because the first movie
interesting.
it was MiGs. Those were the names of all the bad planes,
Right,
And
yeah.
those are Soviet or Russian, I think.
Okay.
And in this one, yeah, no names. Like
It was just a uranium facility underground.
Yeah,
Somewhere in the
Somewhere.
cold, icy land.
full of bad guys.
I think it's heavily implied
Interesting.
that it's
But
Russian.
why? Okay.
But why not name it? I don't know.
Okay. Well, we don't have to get into
Yeah.
that. I was just curious. Like, they're just even
they were
the.
faceless.
It was very like Empire.
Yeah.
You know, like
Just
even
the
the
bad
pilots were
guy.
just like black helmets, no like distinguished features, just very faceless
yeah,
enemies.
I think that was to its credit. It's like it's just a bad person.
Like when he shot down
Yeah.
a plane, I was like, oh yeah, he just shot down a plane. I didn't even think about the person in it because I was
Well,
like,
there was a
I don't
parachute.
even.
They got out.
Well, that's one of them did, but like I just wasn't even thinking. So I was like, you're all robots. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know who you are.
Right.
So like it was
Just
just really
faceless-
easy to
literally a
swallow
faceless
all that
enemy.
was happening because I was
Yeah.
like, what's going on?
Oh, I think that's super intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. That was weird though.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind it.
Well, yeah, it didn't like break the movie for me, but like it was just an observation where
Yeah.
it's like everybody's facial features for like the last hour and a half,
Just a dude in a black
And then just-
mask.
you know, just very like Terminator-esque, you know, just whatever. Anyway, it was neat.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can say about this movie. I mean, I think like I thought they handled like the weirdest thing about the Iceman thing was that it worked more to do it the way
Yeah.
that they did. I thought that was excellent. I love the line where he's like, so which one's the better pilot, you or me? And he's like, let's not ruin a good moment. And it's like, oh, yes. Like, he still can't give you anything because he's still Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But it's like, perfect. John Hamm,
Oh yeah, hammed it up.
necessary evil, I guess, to, like, kind of push him in the right direction, but then ends up being won over in the end, you know? Kind of a cool character arc, I guess. Because that seems to be Maverick's charm, is like every person is like, I'm out to get you because you just are.
And they're all like, I don't want to like you. I
Yep.
really don't want to
And then in the end, they're like, you're our only hope. You know, it's like every single guy ends up falling in line, you know. I think it would have been cool. I think the only thing that could have been heightened if Val Kilmer was healthy would be, could there have been an event where maybe he got to like fly with him?
Yeah.
Or
maybe,
some
instead
sort of like
Hangman
Iceman, like
coming
he
at the
actually
end.
does have his 6. Or you could have done like the really cheesy thing and like Iceman wasn't even on the mission. Then he shows up, he's like, I always got your 6, and blows up the guy. And then it's like full cheese. And you're just like, oh, let's
plays
go.
plays Top Gun.
I think
Yeah.
there was an appropriate amount of cheese as
I
was,
agree.
Yeah.
I think the movie was better for
Holding
it.
back.
Yeah.
But they could have done the nostalgia, just like, come on, keep doing the crazy, like keep doing Great Balls of Fire the whole time.
The
You know,
whole
it's like
time.
just do it. I thought they handled it really well, where it was tasteful, but it was still a plot that was worthy of a movie rather than just making money. You know,
Yeah.
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 which I think is the highest compliment you can give a sequel, because most of them feel like, hey, you like that? Well, here's what 2 years of us just trying to get something together looks
Yeah.
like, you know. And this felt like, if you're gonna come back this long after, just make it worth it. And I felt like they did.
Yeah.
I think they took their time. I think it was supposed to be released last year. I don't know if it was a full year earlier.
Yeah,
But they took their time
delayed.
and they did it right.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Tom Cruise might have been like 55 when this was filmed. You know?
Yeah. He's aged now.
Yeah, he's old now, but it was good stuff.
Yeah. I loved it. It blew my expectations out of the water.
It has
Agreed.
not us united approval.
It always
for
has
sure.
our 6.
It always has. I'm definitely gonna watch this one again. Like, this is gonna be comfort food for me. Like, it's actually good enough to like just keep on,
Oh yeah.
throw on. Like, hey, we're gonna fold laundry. You want to watch Top Gun Maverick? Yep.
Yep.
Let's do it.
They're shooting down some planes. Sick.
Awesome.
Yeah. I
Cool.
don't got anything else. Brandon, you have anything else to share?
I think that's it.
We did it.
No.
Well, there weren't 21 pilots in this podcast. There was only 3, but you have heard from us about Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Not us united.
Cactus signing off.
We'll see you, everybody. Woohoo!
You've just listened to Not Us United. You can find us under Not Us United on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Please leave us a review and consider subscribing to our podcast. You can reach out for future podcast topic suggestions at notusunitedpod@gmail.com.